This is a fascinating exercise myth. It is the myth that when you are in shape, in great shape, from running, steady running, marathon running, long distance running, that you're super healthy. That is not necessarily true. In fact, what happens when you do a steady state running, your body becomes very efficient at running, and so it gets rid of everything it doesn't need to be an efficient runner. It reduces your lung capacity, your reserve capacity, because it doesn't need it, because it's steady all the time. It gets rid of your upper body muscle because it doesn't need it for the running. Of course, it builds your legs really great, and it builds a good cardiovascular system with no reserve capacity. So it makes you really an efficient runner. But how healthy are you? Well, as long as you don't need any excess capacity for anything, you'll be okay. But if you get under stress and you push yourself and you need to have a little bit more reserve, you don't have it. You don't have any reserve capacity. And that's why a marathon runner can drop dead while they're running, because they have no reserve capacity. And that is the explanation of how and why that can happen. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is interval training. What you want to do is build capacity. For example, if you laid in bed all day, you wouldn't be building any reserve capacity, and it's the same thing almost as a long-distance runner, only in the sense that your body is going to shed its ability to have a reserve capacity because it doesn't need it when you're lying in bed, and it will also get rid of as much of your muscle because it doesn't need it to lie in bed. That's an extreme, but it illustrates the point. So what is interval training? Well, interval training is where you might, for example, as a beginner, you might want to actually exert you start out by, let's say, warming up for 2 minutes really, really slowly, and then you would do a really slow, let's say a slow walk, or maybe even a super slow jog or run for 30 seconds, and then for 15 seconds you sprint or run or exert yourself as hard as you can until you really get out of breath, but it's only 15 seconds. And then you slow down and go back for another 30 seconds at your original really slow pace, so you can recover your breath, get back and do that, and then repeat it again about 6 different cycles. 15 minutes super exertion, 15 seconds super exertion, and then 30 seconds very relaxed and peaceful exertion. But don't stop. You have to keep exerting yourself, but at a very, very mild way. Or maybe a little more advanced would be, instead of 15 seconds, you could do maybe 30 seconds of intense exertion, which you don't want to really start out doing that as a beginner, but you can do that if you're already in somewhat good shape, and you've checked of course with your doctor to make sure that you're healthy enough to do this. And then then for 90 seconds you would then go back to your slow exertion, where you're basically recovering, and then you do that for 6 to 15 cycles. You will quickly build up a huge reserve capacity, so that if you stress yourself, you have to push a car in the snow, your body needs to call on some reserves, it'll have them available because it's built them up, and in response to your interval training. So that is a great way to stay healthy.